Hey Taylorians, greetings and welcome to our podcast series on What's Up Conversations on EQ. I am Michelle Francis, a life skill facilitator at Taylor's. Now, our topic for today is something very interesting called leadership and collaboration, along with our special guest here, Mr. Aaron Phua, who is the founder, co-owner of 50 Tales, a Malaysian Barista Champion in 2019, and also a former head barista of 30 Seconds Cafe. Welcome, Aaron. How are you feeling today?
First of all, thank you for having me.
No worries.
Feeling great, and I hope this session would benefit the students as well, and and have more young leaders coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very sure that having someone who's really young today at our session will definitely bring a lot of added value to our podcast. Right, so let's start because our topic for today is on leadership and collaboration with all the leadership elements that you have had in your life. How would you describe leadership style, and how has it worked for you over the years of your career and your life?
Okay, so first of all, I started off as a barista. We're talking about sometime 2013 to 2014.
Okay.
Very young, very naive, just want to make coffee and have a good time. And I think everybody wants to have their own freedom to do whatever they want.
Right.
So I was very privileged that my family started a cafe in 2014, which is called 30 Seconds, which is still around today in Bandar Sri Damansara.
Right.
So given the opportunity to do something your own is great, but it comes with the lopside, because you need to start having a team to help you run certain things behind the bar or even the floor in a cafe, aside from the kitchen. So at that time, my mindset was just trying to be the best barista, trying to make the best coffee, and whoever came on board at the time, I would say the leadership style that I was carrying with me was close to a dictatorship, or a commander kind of style,
Right.
where
Commanding.
it's very forceful kind. My way is the only way. I think it also comes with experience and also age. And because of that period of time between 2014 to probably sometime in 2017, 2018.
Okay.
I mean, over time I experienced, because people come and go, and people do give feedback. If they're nice, they give feedback. If they're not, they just leave the next day, and they don't show up for work. But as time goes, I think sometime in 2018, that's where I learned like everybody actually receive very differently. Not just in terms of taking orders, but also in terms of learning ability, communication method. They're all very different. So, and I think now in this current generation, Gen Z, or is it even Gen Z? I mean, like, it's still Gen Z. I think it has to go very individual, where everybody has their own learning method, communication method. So it has to be very customized.
Okay.
So now that I've been running 50 Tales since 2020, although it's a very small team in the initial 3 years, because 2020 to 2023, COVID, MCO here and there, my team was rather small. I only had like 2 to 3 full times at most.
Oh, okay.
So it was very easy to
Manage.
communicate one to one. But now, after I moved to Sea Park, the team is a little bit bigger now. We're about 15 in the whole team.
Wow.
So I would say the style or the leadership method has changed tremendous across 10 years now. It's very much more personal, and also I can't remember the term for it, but it's more of, I hope they succeed. And it's very different from me wanting to succeed anymore. Now I'm very happy to see them do better than me.
Wow, that's a a really great switch
Yeah.
from how your leadership style was
Yeah.
and how is it now, because you try to accommodate. So
Mm.
what I understand is at CPAC now,
Mm.
you've got a larger group.
Yeah.
Are there more younger individuals who are working with you?
Quite surprisingly, my team, they're all in their 20s.
Ah, wow.
Uh,
So are they like fresh grad or
some are, some are not.
okay,
But I have two of them, they're as young as 22 this year.
okay.
And one of them at 22 is my junior sous chef. So
Wow,
he's
okay.
actually very experienced and very capable. So age doesn't really matter, but I think it's just more of the personality and the willingness to work is more important. So
That's great.
yeah.
What was it like for you to transition between one leadership style to the other?
Mm, I think it's just moments of realization whereby the old method of leadership just didn't work, because you know people are not trying to receive and people are not following what you want.
Right.
And when people are not following you anymore but you're trying to achieve certain goal, and you realize you need people to achieve a certain goal. And when you don't have people, it's important to have a self-actualization that you actually need people and you have to change in order to get people to wanting to be part of this goal that you
Your
want to
goal.
achieve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely right. And you sort of put in a whole new perspective about
Mm.
leadership itself, because sometimes some of them are very reserved and they
Yeah.
prefer to stick to the way they are. But as a leader yourself,
Mm.
you notice that it is important to switch when you have to,
Yeah.
because you need the team to help you to achieve that goal itself. It's not like it's me,
Yeah.
myself, and I only.
Correct.
Ah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that
No problem.
personal experience
Mm.
of yours. Um, is there a moment in your life that you had to take path in becoming a leader, probably a challenging situation that you had to step up, and then you realized that, wait, you were not aware, or probably you were aware of your capabilities as a leader? What would that be like?
Mm. I would say I've been quite privileged. I've never been in that situation where I have to be put in or forced
Right.
into to kind of lead.
Okay.
I think my journey ever since college on has always been, the opportunity has always been given
Okay.
for me to lead, and I'm always very um, excited to lead. And um, I'm a person who loves to excel.
Hmm.
And I used to have this crazy mentality whereby perfection is the ultimate goal.
Right.
Um, it can be a little bit extreme. That's why I tone it down, because reality check is not attainable. But but there are a lot of times where I've been challenged, because before I started the cafe with my family, so I used to work with a supplier. They're not just a supplier; they are a roaster themselves.
Mm.
They supply coffee equipment. So I was appointed as a barista trainer.
Okay.
So that's where I realized. I mean, when I was in that position, there was no other people in that company with that same position. So I
Ah.
was considered very fresh in that position and
Right.
the only one in the company. So the sales team are looking at me, the bosses are looking at me to make sure that I train our clients properly,
Okay.
and to come up with a proper SOP in the future, so that whoever joins in the barista training segment would also have a set of example.
Right.
So I would say that particular 1 year was quite a challenge,
Okay.
on laying foundations, although not having a team yet, but laying the foundations so that the future team member has got a guideline on how to operate in the future.
Okay.
And I think it was very challenging because I was only 20 at
Wow.
that time. So when I go out and meet clients, or like when I train some of their staff in the outlet, most of the time they're older than me.
Okay.
So it gets very challenging on how I approach them. Because some of them be like, oh, you're so young, you probably don't have experience, and like, I'm not going to listen to you. Hence the facial hair, but yeah.
Right. They go like, why should I listen to you?
Yeah. And it's because of that kind of experience, I also learn how to set up standards and like present myself differently. So when people look at me, they're like, oh, okay, you know your stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. That 1 year period helped you to mold yourself, and also, you sort of realize a lot of things
Yeah.
and capabilities and strengths. That's great. Um, what would be some key traits that you believe an effective leader should have, like from your experience? What do you think is essential as a leader?
There are a few things. First one is to be able to listen. That's one.
Okay.
I think a lot of leaders out there don't listen.
That's a huge task, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody tried to spend less time listening,
Mm.
but spend more time executing.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not wrong, but I think listening is essential because you need to know how your team is feeling,
Mm.
meaning how are they performing, how are their mood, and because of that, if you listen and you know how they are, it's a lot easier to motivate them and also to find better ways to drive the team to achieve certain goals.
Mm.
That's one. Another one
Okay.
is humility.
Okay.
To be humble enough to say that you don't know sometimes.
Mm.
And I think it's always two-way. So like now when I have a younger team, and I'm not chef trained because I'm hospitality trained. So
Okay.
when I deal with the kitchen team or my chefs, it's good to be humble and just listen because sometimes you really don't know. And there's a whole reason why I hire them as well to be
Yeah.
on my team so that I also can learn and they can help with me in my business. And I think that's one of the biggest thing that I think every leader should
Great.
have. Certain level of humility and humbleness to accept critics and also other people's teaching sometimes. The openness
Right.
to it.
Okay. That's a really good tip. And I think with the younger generation these days, I mean, you work with a lot of young people
Mm.
at your restaurant. How is it like for them to be able to adapt to these skills? Do you see that they're struggling, or
Mm.
how is it like?
Um, it's very easy to say now,
Uh-huh.
effective communication, but
Okay.
effective communication is such a big um, thing.
Term.
Yeah, communication is it's never ending. Um, but I think the main thing is every day to have small conversations with the team.
Mm.
If not the rest, at least with some of the team leaders right after me.
Mm.
So, for example, like my sous chef and then my restaurant assistant manager, to have small conversations about them, how they are running certain things or what are the problems that they encounter day to day.
Mm.
And we make it a point in my restaurant where we have a morning briefing before we start our lunch service, and
Okay.
then we have another round of a briefing before dinner service, and we have a final debrief at the end of the night.
Okay.
And with that, only you have enough data or like information from the team. What are the problems that they encounter?
Mm.
And sometimes it's not just for them. Because the rest of the team member may not know what happened during
Okay.
service or may not know what happened throughout the day.
Right.
It's also good because then the whole team is aware that this problem
Happen.
is happening,
Okay.
and they would also know that okay, how to solve this problem in the future.
Mm.
So I would say it's more of openness and having more day-to-day conversation and also being open about certain things.
Mm.
But at the same time, you have to have a line drawn of
Okay.
so that work is work, friend is friend, so
Right.
that you can keep that professionalism.
The
Yeah, the
boundaries.
boundaries.
Okay. Wow, that's great. That's a very good insight, and I believe that all these things will be important to the younger generation these days, especially when they
Mm.
step out to the work life.
Yes.
They also realize that, okay, this is how you manage things. Thank you. Right. With with all your experiences, what would be that one advice you would give to the younger leaders these days who are starting their journey, or they're
Mm.
about to start their journey? What would that be?
Um, I would say okay. One thing I'm very in F&B, so I'm not gonna speak in terms of all the other industries, but at least for F&B,
Okay.
as a craftsman, I know a lot of people or chefs out there, or young chefs who just graduated. They dream of being maybe the best chef, to be able to win Michelin stars, or
Okay.
to be in Asia 50 Best, or even a sommelier or a front of house, a service staff. No matter what, you will be put into a position as a leader as you progress.
Okay.
Because everybody wants to have career advancement, and also, I think, a bigger paycheck at the end of the day.
Okay.
And with bigger paycheck comes with bigger responsibility,
Oh,
right?
yes, definitely.
So when that come into place, I think everybody, no matter what, will still fall into some form of a leader along the way. Especially when you move up to a bit more managerial position, because
Okay.
you will have a team that will be working under you.
Mm.
So I would say, put in the hours.
Mm.
Don't be afraid to fail. That's one.
Okay.
But also be willing to let go that fun part of craftsmanship.
Okay.
Because that's the fun part. Everybody loves the craftsmanship part, or
Okay.
being really good at what they do.
Okay.
But there's always this additional baggage that people don't talk about, right? Which is how you manage people, certain paperwork that you need to deal with. People always leave that behind. People always talk about how great this chef is, or how great this bartender is. It's like, it's very product driven, and this particular segment is always very much ignored.
Okay.
So I would say, no matter what, to be a very good craftsman, you need this rest of the baggage along as well.
Along
So
it.
it cannot be neglected.
Right. That's a very good advice, because, like you said, I completely agree with what you have mentioned. They want to highlight and focus on what they can do and how they shine, but there comes all the background work, which, people don't really want to get themselves involved. But it's always important that it comes with a package, especially when you step into more leadership roles.
Yeah.
Right, that's really great, and I hope all of this will be useful and helpful to the younger generation that's
Yeah.
coming. Right, with that, we will move on to the second segment of our podcast, which is a rapid fire session.
Yeah.
And I will be giving out a few questions. Tell me whatever that comes up to your mind first. Right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's start with the first one. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Wow. I used to be a morning person.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But now I'm a night person.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I work better at night.
Okay.
And it's quieter sometimes. So
Is that because of your job?
partially it's because of the job.
Okay.
Because running a restaurant, doing dinner service, by the time you finish, it's already like 11, 12 midnight.
Okay.
But in general, I like be able to do stuff at night,
Okay.
because it's a lot more quiet, and yeah, it's just nice.
Yeah, completely agree. Right. What would be one skill you think everyone should master?
One skill
Yeah.
everyone should master. Wow.
What would that be?
Phew. Well, I would say to be able to cook.
I would agree.
Survival.
Yeah, it's survival skill. I think it's really important to be able to cook. That's a great skill. One word to define success.
Whoa.
How would you define success? One word.
Define success. I would say comfort.
Comfort. Okay.
Yeah. So that why I say comfort is because you don't have to worry about financial. You don't have to worry whether if you're able to put food on the table.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about healthcare. So if you can live a very comfortable life,
Right.
I think it's pretty successful already.
Successful. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very deep.
Because I think everybody always have this struggle, like worry whether the next day whether I'll still have my job, my health, or even to be able to put food on the table.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think if we can not worry about this and live a pretty comfortable life, I think that's already very successful.
All right. Thank you very much. Very insightful. what would be the best advice you have received in your life?
Best advice
Yeah.
I've ever received. Oh, wow. Well, quoting my ex-boss, he always say if you want to attain certain lifestyle in life,
Okay.
you have to put in the hours. So there's no shortcut.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to maybe a fancy car, it comes with the hours. You want a big house, it comes with the hours.
Mm.
You want to enjoy a very good meal, it comes with the hours.
Mm.
So, yeah, do the hours, put in the time. Yeah,
You
that's
work, basically, you work hard for it.
yes,
Nothing comes easy, right?
yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree. What would be the one favorite activity you do to recharge yourself?
Favorite activity to reach out to myself.
Yeah.
I love taking photos,
Oh,
and
okay.
I do film photography.
Right.
Um, I know it's a bit old school and it's quite an expensive hobby, so I don't advise people to start. But I enjoy the whole process of it, from being able to shoot the photo.
Okay.
That you look into the lens and you think it's nice because you never know what comes out after that.
Okay.
But it's also the whole process of waiting, and I think it's also a good process to learn to be patient.
Mm.
That not everything can be attained instantly.
Mm.
I think now with the current generation, it's always about instant gratification.
Yep.
Social media has made it so simple, and success seems so easy to be attainable, but in actual fact, it's not. So,
Okay.
and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing film photography. Sometimes it's that anxiousness of not knowing how the photo will
What's the
come out.
outcome
Yeah,
like? Yeah.
and at the same time, sometimes I don't finish a roll of film that
Oh,
fast, and maybe a whole month.
okay.
Uh, and then by the end, when I develop film, then I actually shoot this photo. Sometimes it's nice, the excitement or that surprise element of not remembering what you took,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, it's quite fun.
Okay. Do you still keep in touch with this hobby of yours?
Yeah, I still do.
You
I
do.
still do.
Okay, that's good. This is something is a hidden talent of yours. Despite
Yeah,
working really hard and hustling all over the kitchen and
yeah.
being a chef, you also have got this. Right, great. Um, what will be that one tool you use to adapt to a new situation?
One tool. Well, I mean, at a lot of times when I'm in certain events or like put into a awkward situation,
Mm.
I think one very important thing is listen and look around first to
Okay.
really assess the whole thing and listen so that you know really what's happening, and then only kind of like execute or move on.
Okay.
Because if you're put into a situation that you're not familiar with and you start executing, you may just be bound for trouble. So
Mm.
it's always good to just listen, take a moment of pause, assess, and then only,
Observe.
yeah.
Okay. Great. And the last question would be one quick tip on how you handle stress.
Ah. Yeah, I think this has been a very common topic with the younger generation now, especially when I'm running the business with a whole group of 20s. Stress or anxiety or depression is such a common
Common thing.
term
Okay.
everybody
Yep.
use. And I think it's very important that every individual to find someone, either your superior or your boss or your whoever is your leader, or someone that you can trust to be open and to share your experience.
Okay.
Then only other people would know actually what is happening. A lot of people fall into depression, anxiety, or stress is because they keep it all to themselves.
Right.
And when you hold it in, like a pressure cooker, sooner or later, or someday it will just
Explode.
explode. So for me, most of the time, how I handle stress is first, of course, I mean, I have my business partners that I normally share them with. But at the same time, also definitely get a hobby or something that's different from the work that you're doing,
Okay.
because that could also help you relieve certain stress and take you away from that particular moment. But that doesn't mean the problem will go away.
Yeah.
So the last one would also be face it front, and don't try to run away or like hide it under the carpet and hopefully it goes away. Face it and then try to resolve it. And I don't think any problem is not solvable. So I would say just face it and get over with it sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I have to definitely agree on the point you mentioned about how people trap a lot of things inside and they don't see the importance of actually talking to someone about it. But
Yeah.
now that you have highlighted it, I hope people will be more aware about the importance of actually communicating
Yeah.
your stress or your struggles or your worries with someone whom they're really comfortable with, because honestly it really helps.
Yes, it does.
Because even like for me at one point I felt like, oh, I don't think I should be talking about this. Prefer to keep things reserved, but once you take it out, I think it really works
Yes.
wonders. But thank you so much for sharing.
No problem.
Any final thoughts for our viewers on leadership and collaboration before we wrap things up?
I think no matter what, everybody will have to go through this whole process of a leadership or some form of a leadership role in the future. And I think everyone should embrace the responsibility,
Okay.
because I deal with some staffs before where give them a little bit bigger responsibility and they shy away because it's not comfortable. But I always say it's always not comfortable at the start. But as you get the groove or as you progress, it will come naturally. And no matter what, you will progress. Either a very good outcome or a decent outcome or a not good outcome, I think it's still an experience. So even if it's a not good outcome, you will know in the future if you come into this position again to not repeat the same mistake. So mistakes are inevitable. So yeah, make mistakes. It's good.
Yeah, we all learn from mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I think it was a very strong ending. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, with that, we have come to the end of our podcast session for today. Thank you so much, Aaron, for
problem.
sharing all the inspiring thoughts and experiences and stories from your life, because I definitely think that this will add value to the younger generation these days, and the stories are definitely very inspiring.
Thank you.
So you've set a very good example for the younger ones. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. And this is Michelle Francis and Aaron signing off, and hope to catch you all in our next series that will come. Till then, keep curious and grow together. Goodbye.